Good afternoon. My name is Anthony Taby, and for those of you that don't know, I'm the high school principal here. I would like to welcome each of you to Cara Durham. Thank you for joining us today as our community, together with the Zimmerman family, holds this memorial service to commemorate the life of Robert A. Zimmerman. We come together as family, friends, neighbors, colleagues, and students as a community that includes those present with us today, but also family and friends who could not be here today. I am proud to say that I had the opportunity to work with Mr. Z for a period of time, even if it was only the last 6 years of his career. We are here today to honor and commemorate the life of Robert Zimmerman. Over the course of his 39-year career at Cara Durham High School, Mr. Z positively impacted the lives of over 10,000 students. In addition to teaching, Mr. Z also coached, but most importantly, he helped shape the lives of generations of young adults, many of whom are here today. Although each of you has something to share of what it meant to experience Mr. Z's wisdom and humor over the years, time here today will not permit each of us to share those experiences. I encourage each of you to share particular experiences with the family at the conclusion of the service. Let me finish with a quote by Maureen Killeran. "We come together from the diversity of our grieving to gather in the warmth of this community, giving stubborn witness to our belief that in times of sadness, there is room for laughter. In times of darkness, there always will be light. May we hold fast to the conviction that what we do with our lives matters and that a caring world is possible after all." At this time, I'd like to introduce Kayla Pinella.
Bear with me, please. I'd like to thank everyone for coming on behalf of my family tonight. It's nice to see everyone out here. I know a lot of you here are former students of Mr. Z and remember him as the tough, but fun-loving teacher. But I would like to tell you about the Mr. Z I know. Bob is the best, and he always will be. Some of my best memories will always be with my cousins, who were more like brothers to me growing up. And thanks to Bob, most of those memories were on film. He was always behind the camera, nurturing us, encouraging us, and sparking the need to explore everything. We watched the videos and always joke that when Bob was in charge that day because we were always doing something we probably shouldn't have been doing. Whether we're beating each other up or fishing or playing with bugs or trying to complete some idiotic task, he was always coaching us and encouraging us. I didn't realize how precious our time was then, or how important those lazy summer days were, or how much I learned on our outdoor explorations. Those days went by so fast. Thinking about our home movies is bittersweet. I can still hear Bob's voice from behind the camera. Excuse me. It takes me back to those days and makes me feel like he's still here. And in a way, it's not so different. Just like our home movies, we can't see Bob, but we know he's here, laughing at us and teaching us and encouraging us. He's just behind the camera. And I hope he knows how much I loved him and how much I valued our time together. He's the best, and I will miss him more and more every day. Thank you. Mr. Agostino will speak next.
Good afternoon. I spent the last several weeks reflecting on Mr. Z and the lasting impact he's made to so many. I was lucky enough to know Mr. Z as both a student and a colleague. As a student, he was a man who always commanded your respect. His class was one of my favorites, along with my friends. He'd make us work hard, he'd make us laugh, he'd make us compete, he'd make us look out for others, and he'd leave us looking forward to the next class. Mr. Z would give up his personal time for us to hold tournaments after school with students from other PE classes. Oftentimes, he'd be here many hours past the end of the school day for us, refereeing floor hockey tournaments. He did this despite having a young family of his own at the time. When I became a colleague of Mr. Z's, I saw some of the same things I saw as a student, although the vocabulary was a little different at times. The faculty would look forward to exam week because it meant Mr. Z was going to be in a faculty room for extended periods of time. I can tell you, we all looked forward to hearing his philosophy on a myriad of topics. He'd get you laughing so hard your stomach would hurt, but it wouldn't take long when you stopped laughing to realize he was usually spot on. Whether you're a student or an adult in the building, he told it like it was. Good or bad, you knew you were going to get an honest assessment from Mr. Z. As my role changed here, I was able to spend a little more time with Mr. Z in his gym. I was struck by the careful thought Mr. Z put into designing all the games for his phys ed classes. He told me his theories on designing the games for his classes, and he was always seeking ways to get everyone involved. Whether you were a strong phys ed student or not, Mr. Z was constantly tweaking the ways he did things to increase the level of physical involvement and enjoyment for all of his students. When the students left his classes, they were always laughing, and they were always looking forward to attending the next class. He was demanding of his students, and he treated them like men and women, and they loved him for it. It is hard to not think about Mr. Z when you hear the oldies playing. As you all know, he loved that music, and it was always playing in his gym. One day I came in to tell Mr. Z my wife and I were expecting our first child. It was amazing to see him light up and go on and on about how great being a parent is. It was a new side of him I had not seen yet. He would go on about being a parent as the greatest job in the world. He would light up when he'd speak about his boys, Brendan and Brett. He loved to tell stories about him and Patty when they were younger and the boys when they were younger, and he stressed how it was the most important and greatest job I will ever have. On the days following his passing, the social media world was full of tributes and comments about the great teacher Mr. Z was. He has impacted so many lives. Several former students that I was in school with, credited Mr. Z with being the only reason they graduated high school. And if you think about it, he not only changed their lives, but the lives of their families and the lives of their kids. Mr. Z was a great role model, teacher, and mentor for so many. He cared deeply about his students, instilling the values of hard work, dedication, and compassion. He's a pillar of this school, and his importance to Cara-Durham cannot be overstated. Thousands of us, tens of thousands of us, were lucky enough to be influenced in some way by Mr. Zimmerman. I'm grateful for having had the opportunity to be a student and a colleague of his. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Chris Monivard.
Before I begin my remarks, I know that Bob must be here. I've already fallen in the hall and broken my glasses, so we're not getting off to a good start. Thank you all for coming. It's wonderful to see the turnout. I know how much you meant to all of you, and it's heartwarming to see all of you here. Last June, just before we were going to retire, Bob and I were sitting around, and he said to me, "You know, Chris, 6 months from now, we won't even be a story at lunch." And at the time, I agreed with him. But I'm here today to say, Bob, you were way more than a story at lunch. Bob and I taught together in the gym behind you since the opening of the new school in 1976. As many of you know, he called me his work wife, and you also know that was one of the nicer things he called me. especially those of you who are in the faculty room. However, for the last 36 years, we never had an argument, we laughed every day, and we shared our love of sports and our students. I'd like to share just a few memories that I have of Bob. Well, these are... Bob, I'll try to go without it. Bob was a three-sport standout at Akron High School. And early in his senior year, he set his sights on going to Syracuse University. And he always said when he went into his guidance counselor and told her that he wanted to go to Syracuse, she said to him, "Bob, Syracuse only takes a fine type student." So later in his senior year, when he was awarded a full scholarship to Syracuse, he went back to that guidance counselor and said, "You were right. Syracuse does only take a fine type student. They took me." Bob remained a loyal Orangeman, and he proudly escorted a group of us onto the campus of Syracuse when they opened the Carrier Dome in 1980. As exciting as that was, we did, however, have to skirt around several small towns near Syracuse. This was apparently due to some college escapades where Bob felt he was probably no longer welcome. After graduating from Syracuse, Bob accepted a teaching job at the Durham School in 1973. He always said he chose this area because it offered the three things he liked most: hunting, fishing, and hiking. 3 years later, he joined Coach Waldron and me at the new junior-senior high school, where he taught PE and coached soccer, basketball, and cross country. At our first meeting, I remember thinking Bob was rather quiet and shy. However, by our second meeting, I knew better. He was loud, often politically incorrect, and he became an unmerciful tease. To illustrate this, about 25 years ago or more, Bob went on a fishing trip to a remote part of Delaware County, where I happen to come from. After fishing all day, he stopped at a local establishment, sat down, and started talking to a guy next to him. Now, what do you think my chances were that he struck up a conversation with one of my old boyfriends? He never let me forget that chance meeting, although I could hardly remember the boyfriend. But as the years went by, the story got worse and worse. But like so many people he teased, I knew I couldn't escape, and he did it all in fun. Bob loved to make people laugh. He made coming to work fun with his banter every morning in the faculty room and his fast-writing music. Bob truly was the life of the Carrier-Durham faculty. Of prime importance to Bob were his students. Over the years, I would hear them ask if he liked them or who he liked best. He would always laugh and say, "I hate you all." They knew that what he really meant was, "I love you all." Bob was a gifted teacher and a father figure to many of his students. They learned many life lessons from the Z, like playing as a team, working hard to improve, and most of all, taking care of each other. Bob introduced mentoring years ago, and many young men and women learned the true pleasure of helping a younger or less skilled player enjoy the game. He was particularly proud of our three alumni, Greg and Chris Hagan, and our daughter, Emma Stalter, who came back to become one half of the physical education staff here at Carrier-Durham today. For many of you, his last legacy was a game of CD ball, a game he invented and one that is a favorite of many of our students. He knew how to make a gym class fun, and he made many lasting memories of high school days. My last thoughts are for his families because he loved you more than anything in this world. To his mother-in-law, Velma, and the rest of the Kiley family, The lake and all the kids were such happy times for Bob. To his siblings, Paulette, Moose, and Mina, and your families, Bob shared so many stories of growing up in Akron with Bobo and your mom. You were so lucky to have a brother and an uncle like Bob. And finally, to Patty, Brendan, and Brett, the happiest days of his life were his wedding day and the days you two boys were born. He talked every day of his pretty Patty and the sons he was so proud of. No father received a more beautiful tribute than the one, Brendan, you gave at his retirement dinner. Bob wanted nothing more than happiness for all of you. In closing, Bob, you were way more than a story at lunch. You were a lifetime of stories. You were the heart of Caro Durham and of your family. We love you. You will never be forgotten, and you will live forever in our hearts.
Hi, my name's Kerry Quinn. I teach 7th grade social studies at Caro Durham, or as Bob would say, I put kids to sleep in 7th grade social studies. I spoke at Bob's retirement party last June. When you speak at a retirement party, you try to throw in a laugh or two. So the theme of my talk was that Z basically raised me when I arrived here at Caro Durham back in 1977. And although I played it for laughs, in every good joke there was a certain truth behind it. When I arrived here at Caro Durham, I had little clue how to teach. So of course I quickly volunteered to coach junior high boys soccer. And since I had very little clue how to coach junior high boys soccer, we spent all of our practices scrimmaging. We practiced on the upper field in pretty much the same place where you will find a field today. But on the lower field, there was no track, there was no fencing, it was just 2 soccer fields laid end to end. And so one day in late September of 1977, we were scrimmaging again. It was a cold, windy day, as so often occurs up on this hill. And since Coach Waldron had hid the pennies, I couldn't find any, we were scrimmaging shirts against skins. Several times during the scrimmage, soccer balls would go down the hill into the soccer practices that were below. Since I didn't know anyone down there, I decided I'll just grab another soccer ball out of the bag and I'll get the soccer balls later. So finally, at the end of the junior high boys practice, I went down to retrieve these missing soccer balls. There was like 3 or 4 of them. Now, Z happened to be the JV boys soccer coach back then. As soon as I stepped onto the field, he yelled out, "No unauthorized personnel on the field at any time." I looked around to see who had the audacity to go onto the soccer field. As I approached Z, he again yelled out in even louder voice, "No unauthorized personnel on the soccer field at any time." Well, it finally dawned on me that I was the unauthorized personnel. As I started to apologize, Z asked me where I was from. When I told him I was from a small town in the Adirondacks, he said, "Boy, that acid rain up there must have really affected you because only an idiot would be scrimmaging in shirts and skins in 40-degree weather." Now, to be perfectly honest with you, that's not what Z said. Z used a lot more colorful adjectives in the sentence, and he used the word a bit stronger than idiot. And little did I realize that he would call me boy for the next 36 years. When something happens like this, that is so wrong, so unfair, I think of what Z would say to me. "Boy, no one said life is going to be fair, so suck it up." So Z, that's what I'm going to do. As we all know, Bob was one of those larger-than-life characters that no one could ever forget. If you entered a room and Z was in that room, you would know quickly. He was loud, profane, and outrageously funny. And for a lot of people, that was the Z they knew. Here's the Z I knew. It's a Tuesday, and the school day has just come to an end. Z enters my room and says, "Boy, we're going on a trip." And just when you say, "Z, I got a ton of papers to grade," he tells you, "Quit your whining and get into my truck." And before you know it, you're in a parking lot near a hospital in Utica, New York, on a Tuesday night. And Z tells you to stay in the truck as he has to visit an elderly woman sick in that hospital. Another time at lunch in school, I mentioned a friend from my hometown who attends Union College up in Schenectady, and he just got dumped by his girlfriend and is feeling all bummed out. 4 hours later, Z and I are in his dorm room at Union, and Z is having a beer with this guy, telling him Syracuse football stories. We once drove up to Prattsville to see an 80-year-old woman who had pictures from that area taken in the early 1900s. Z made that woman feel as if those photographs were priceless relics. And for that woman, they probably were. Z would go on the Plattsburgh Press Republican website and find out information about my hometown to ask me. I think he knew more about what was going on in Westport, New York than I did, and I grew up there. Now, how many times did I ever go on the website for a newspaper in Akron, New York, where Z grew up? I never did. I never even thought about it. And that is what made Z Z. For most of us in this room, when we do something nice for someone, we are consciously thinking, hey, I'm doing nice for somebody. But I don't believe Bob thought that way. I think Z's DNA was naturally wired into doing something for someone else, whether it be a student, a relative, a teaching colleague, or a woman who dropped her groceries at Great American. One of the last times I saw Z, he gave me some newspaper clippings from my brother's hometown of Chateaugay, New York, that he thought my brother might enjoy. And he had met my brother 3 times in his entire life. My brother sent me a card when he found out about Z. And in the card he wrote that Z was my Greene County brother. I wish I was that lucky. All I know is that in 1986, when I got married to Julie, I asked Z to be my best man. And after all this time, I've come to realize Z's always been my best man. He's the best man I've ever met in my life. Z lived a life that all of us strive for. We want to make a difference in this world. We want to leave behind some lasting imprint for the next generation to follow. And can any of us deny that is exactly what Bob Zimmerman did? His was a life of honesty, sometimes brutal honesty, of integrity, compassion, much laughter, and of great love. You left the conversation with Bob Zimmerman feeling better than when you started that conversation. And so, when we're thinking of Z today, let's give a silent thanks for him being a part of our lives. As for me, Z, I just want to thank you for helping this boy become a man. I love you, Z.